I once again want to thank Comcast Business, our presenting sponsor for today, and AMS Practice Management, our day sponsor. And again, today's theme is dynamics and trends for top industries. And so that leads us into our next panel discussion. And this is brought to us by ManufactureCT, Advanced Manufacturing, the Evolving Face of Connecticut Manufacturing. And I believe we have Jill Mayer, who is on with us. Jill's the CEO of BEAD, but she's also the president right now of ManufactureCT. So Jill, thank you for taking the time to be with us and for moderating and leading this panel.
Thanks, Garrett. Good morning.
Great to see you.
We are excited. We've got an all-star panel of manufacturers. We're really excited to talk about the evolution of manufacturing, especially when it comes to workforce and technology and innovation, not only the last several years, but the last several months. So we have Lucia Furman from Mercantile Development. We have Marcy Minnick from Excello Tool, and we have Nick Perkins from Unicore Packaging. If you guys want to put on your video and join us. All of these manufacturing companies are members of ManufactureCT. It's the largest manufacturing association in Connecticut. And our members, we have a wide array of members in chemical manufacturing, metal manufacturing, aerospace, automotive, plastics, all sorts of manufacturers are members of ManufactureCT. So I'm going to ask each panelist to introduce themselves and talk a little about their role and talk a little bit about the products you make, the markets you're in, your location, your number of employees, and how your company impacts the local economy. So Lucia, you want to kick it off for us?
Good morning, Jill.
Morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. My name is Lucia Furman, and I am the president of Mercantile Development. We go by the name MDI, and we're located in Shelton. My two sisters and I are blessed to be the third generation of our family business, and we really love what we do, which is manufacturing critical cleaning wipes. So we have 49 employees as of today, although when we go to our second shift this month, we are going to be growing significantly in our Shelton location. We are ISO certified, and we are WeBank certified woman-owned business enterprise as well. So we provide critical cleaning towels to all sorts of customers, both through the US and worldwide. So think about clean manufacturing facilities, many of them in Connecticut that you would recognize in the aerospace industry. We supply Sikorsky, also the critical cleaning towels that are used in food service environments, school systems for sanitizing purposes. We supply the CT transit system as well. So anything that you can imagine where people are cleaning is our customer base.
Great, thank you. Marcy, you want to go next?
Sure, good morning. It's great to have everybody here today and to be engaged in what is a dynamic time for Connecticut manufacturing. So we appreciate your coming and listening. I am a CNC job shop. We are located in Milford, Connecticut. I am the CEO as well. We've been in business for a little over 60 years. Our primary market ranges from anything in the aerospace and defense industry to commercial, medical. Again, like I said, we've been in business for 60 years, and we continue to struggle to find jobs more of along the line of employees to fill the backlog of what we're finding to be the next generation. We have been incredibly busy. We work 60 hours a week to try to keep the demand up. We're a support network for a lot of what I call the big three here in Connecticut, which would be Sikorsky, Pratt & Whitney, and Electric Boat. We do a lot of small third-party manufacturing for them, but we're also, again, like I said, in the medical industry. So that has been an industry that's sort of stepped up as COVID has hit the state, where we are finding that we're finding a new market. So Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks, Marcy. Nick?
Hey everyone, Nick Perkins. I'm the Director of Operations at Unicore Packaging Group. We produce corrugated and protective packaging. So corrugated boxes, displays, foam, protective packaging, wood crates, pallets. We've got 6 facilities in the Northeast, 3 in Connecticut. We're just over 400 employees in total. I'm based in North Haven, which is our headquarters. We've got about 100 people at this location. And yeah, we've been in business since 1946, family owned, privately held. I'm part of the 3rd generation, along with 2 of my brothers. And yeah, so we create a lot of jobs in the Northeast. And then we also, mainly because of the industry that we're in, supply regionally. So most of our customers are in the Northeast as well. So we supply a lot of manufacturing and distribution businesses in the Northeast area.
Wonderful. So I just realized we're all family businesses, all family owned. That's very cool. Let's get into some of the questions we wanted to talk about or discuss. How, especially since workforce is such a monster topic and something that's been in top of mind for manufacturers for the last couple of years. How has each of your manufacturing companies evolved over the last few years in terms of workforce, whether it's training or recruiting or retention? And maybe we'll just keep the order if that makes sense. Lucia?
Sure. Jill, I had to write down all of the programming that we've taken advantage of over the last few years through the state of Connecticut. We're really the only ones that are doing what we're doing in Connecticut and really even in the Northeast. So for us, it's really a struggle to find skilled workers. So we're really doing always on the job training. We've taken advantage of the incumbent worker training program over the last few years to bring entry-level people in from, let's say, a packer position on the production floor and move them up through into machine operators, lead machine operators, and then eventually the trainers for the new folks. So we really find we have the greatest success with really mentoring employees to get them trained up. And so the apprenticeship program has been very successful for us as well. I think we have a few programs currently. We have lead machine operators, maintenance technician, and a manufacturing engineer position. So that's just been a really nice way to get folks both the formal education that's necessary and the on-the-job training. And our apprenticeships are pretty long. Our equipment is pretty advanced, and again, we're hiring from a pool of people that's not necessarily skilled in exactly our equipment. So it does take time. We've also taken advantage of the Manufacturing Innovation Fund, the MVP program, and that's helped us put new equipment in. And then again, you put those together with those incumbent worker training and apprenticeship programs to skill up the folks to be able to operate that new equipment. So hiring is one of our biggest challenges. COVID has, made it difficult, even more difficult. I think everybody would agree, but we just have a really great core group of employees that have been here a long time, and those that are getting close to retirement have really joined with the management and the owners in trying to really focus on getting the next generation of folks trained up, and that partnership's been really important. So we're all really working together as a team to get the staffing that we need, and we're growing. I'll talk about that a little bit later, I'm sure, when we talk about where we're headed. So yeah, people will always be, the number one challenge and the most important thing for our company.
Great. And Marcy, I think you use the apprenticeship program as well, don't you?
We've used the apprenticeship program. the majority of the employees that we end up putting into the apprenticeship program are coming out of a training program, whether it was through the trade schools or the high school trade programs, or through the community colleges, through their manufacturing technology programs. And that way they have a lot of the background training that they need in order to get into CNC machining, because like Lucia said, it's a complicated machine that you're working on. And because we are a job shop, we are constantly changing courses throughout the day. Your machines are constantly being set up to run a different job. So we really need very skilled people that would be able to kind of flip what they're doing on a daily basis. It's not, the button pusher or, just somebody who's making the same product line every day. But yes, we've definitely had success. I'm a huge advocate of the apprenticeship program. I've also used the manufacturing voucher program in order to get some equipment. And we continue to, we've done Step Up as well. I've brought, apprentice in to help through that program. But the most of the success that we do have is always training within. We've had, generations of knowledge that's working on our floor. And we find that, having a little bit of skills coming out of whether it be the community college or the trade schools is great. Then once they walk onto our floor, we're able to train them to really, tune into exactly what our needs are. And we've been successful. We've had retention with some young employees that are excited and interested and ingrained in the technology and advancing in technology that are going to, be the keystone to the future of our company.
That's great. Nick, do you use any of those programs, or are there any programs we haven't mentioned, or any maybe that aren't working for you well?
So we haven't had a lot of luck with the government funded programs, but I think what's different about our business to all your businesses is that we've got a union, and because of the union, we generally have to bring people in a more manual job, and then they work their way up from the bottom. So a lot of the people who are more skilled to begin with, they don't want to come into the more manual jobs. So I think what we're finding is that we need to do a lot more training our own people. And luckily we do pretty well with retention. Once we do get people in, we've done a pretty good job of keeping them here. So we're not concerned about training people and having them walk out the door. But we are finding that our best method, our best course of action is really to just spend more time and invest more in our own people.
Right. Anyone hiring right now?
So we've been lucky throughout the last 6 months to be pretty busy. Maybe we've gotten lucky with our mix of customers. We've had a pretty diverse mix of customers. So we've been keeping busy. We're still looking for machine operators, and have been for the last 6 months. So that's been a challenge. But really, we don't have a lot of requirements for who comes in. We just want people to be sort of mechanically minded, enthusiastic, hardworking, but we don't require any sort of advanced degrees or pre-understanding of our equipment. But we're still having a pretty tough time bringing new people in.
Right.
It's probably always the challenge is making sure that people that do enter into this career, their soft skills are really fine-tuned. As Nick said, we want to make sure that you're going to show up for your shift, and you're going to be present, and you're going to want to learn, and you're going to be engaged, and you're going to be trainable and coachable. I think that's one of the most important things when you choose to go into this career, that you focus on that. And I think you can go very far. Manufacturing is no longer the dirty jobs that you were considered back in the 70s and 60s and 70s. It really is a very innovative, very STEM oriented, very high technology field that has really great paying jobs with really great benefits, where you can live a very comfortable, well-rounded life in the state of Connecticut. So I'm an advocate for it, and I'm constantly going around the state and making sure that people understand that this is a wonderful field to get into, that you can go very far.
I do think there's a gap there to what Marcy's saying of what the jobs are actually like versus what everybody out there thinks the jobs are like. Our jobs are definitely a lot less manual than they used to be. Our equipment's interesting. There's a lot of problem solving out there. I feel that the jobs are better than what everybody out there assumes that they are. That this isn't just a I don't know, big like Amazon packing facility, but
Right.
there's actually interesting work to be done.
That's a good point.
And I'll chime in on that note. It's a hard job in manufacturing. I mean, you are on your feet for a long time. I know, because when we had issues at the beginning of COVID, I found myself on the production lines for a long time. And it's been a while. It's been since high school that I was on the lines themselves, but it's a really great reminder of, it's not easy, but it's challenging. I found it fun. There's a great amount of teamwork. Even though our equipment is very advanced, there still is a fair amount of manual labor, but 20 years ago, you really had to be a big, strong man to do the job of our machine operators, and you don't anymore. So we've been moving a number of the traditional packing positions, those wonderful women, up through those programs that we talked about to be lead machine operators, and they can do the job. I mean, if you can, do the basic maneuvering around the floor, you can run this equipment. And I'm just so proud now to go onto the floor and see like how diverse it is versus 20, 30 years ago. It's really a great profession. And I hope that more girls in the high schools realize there really are other good career paths for them that maybe there weren't in recent history.
Yeah, that's a good point. Our shop floor at Bead we're 70% women as well, and just as hardworking. So it's great to see that diversity. I feel like we could talk about workforce all day. If we have time at the end, maybe we can circle back. But I guess we'll move on to our another topic, which was regarding technology and new product development. Any new products that you guys have added over the last few years, and kind of what led to the innovation of those products? Lucia, you want to start?
Sure. So we're just driven, my sisters and I, and everybody on our team, with this passion for progress. So we never really like to stand still. It drives people nuts a little bit because you just finish one thing and then you're on to the other. But that's what makes this so fun. So really every year for maybe the past 15 years, we've really spent about 7 figures a year on new equipment. So it's just a constant reinvestment in the business. And it's just allowed us to take a very basic product line and move into new directions. So we've focused on customization of our products so that there's less waste or reduced usage, different dispensing. We've tried to remove a lot of the packaging that was there in previous generations, again, to be more environmentally friendly. And then with the opportunity for us with the wet wipe side, because of COVID, we have reposition some of our existing wet wipe capabilities to move into the disinfecting product side. So it's just one more in a long chain of new products, which keeps it really exciting and keeps everybody on their toes.
That's great. Mars?
So like Lucia, I have spent the last 5 years really kind of investing in our machinery to make sure that we are ready to be as efficient as we possibly can be as technology continues to change. And it has been a remarkable adjustment, and it's been really innovative for my staff. They've enjoyed learning new technology, learning new machines, expanding their knowledge base. But like Lucia, we've also had some opportunities, which, in the unfortunate circumstances of today, we've mostly spent most of our time in the last, I would say, 7 years in the aerospace and defense industry. And as things started to slow down for a plethora of different reasons, because we are a job shop and we have the capabilities to kind of really make anything, we flipped into more of the medical industry. We had a customer that's been a longtime customer of ours who retrofitted their machines right away and began making PPE equipment and components for ventilators. So what was a slow time in one part of our industry ended up being a much faster time in the other part of our industry. And I think that that's one of the things that's really innovative and exciting about Connecticut manufacturers is they continue to be progressive, right? We're well educated, many resources at our fingertips, being in such an area of the country that is small and easy to commute to and get around, that we're dependent on, you know, so many industries to sort of keep our lines moving. And going forward in the future, we continue to think of it as we're a support network for whatever's happening, whatever the current trend is, and whatever the market kind of adheres to. So.
Nice. Yeah, Nick. So, you know, we'll get to COVID in the next question, but is the technology and the product development that you're doing at Unicor, is it related to customer demand? Is it related to kind of machines aging out, or?
So we've made an investment in the last few years into higher graphics and just better printing. So a lot of that isn't really COVID related, but there's been just more of a push in e-commerce to customize packaging and make packaging part of the experience of whatever it is that you're getting. And then similarly in retail, packaging is becoming part of the product. So if you think about like an Aldi, where they're not removing the product from the packaging when they're putting it on the shelves, but packaging is actually, you know, part of what's selling the product on the shelf. People are making a lot. People are looking more into that for their products, and we think that moving more into higher graphics and better printing is going to help that out. And then just a lot of our investment in general is just to be able to make our process just more efficient. So can we run more in a shorter period of time? Can we just bring down the cost of our product?
Great. Yeah, so let's get into, this is a good topic. So let's get into kind of how COVID has driven some innovation or changes in your shops. I think we can all agree that you know, we're all super grateful that the state deemed manufacturers essential when COVID shut down the industries, and then here we are potentially moving into a second wave. So, you know, I'm very grateful that we're an essential business and we are supporting some critical applications. So some manufacturers in the state were able to pivot to make products, ventilators, different things. Marcy, you talked about that. My business, Bead, couldn't. However, our product diversity really helped us. So we're 40% automotive, and that was really down. But we were in medical, and we were in some other markets, so we were okay, and we were able to stay afloat. And we're seeing automotive start to come back a little bit. Were you able to pivot, Lucia? And if not, did your product diversity help you? If you want to share.
Sure. Well, we were just blessed to be in the right business at this time, and we didn't need to pivot. There were a number of folks that moved obviously into the face mask area, which you know, in March was necessary, and I'm very glad that people were able to. It would have been a pretty simple transition for us to do that. But we felt like we needed to look a little bit longer term for what's going to make sense for the company 6, 12, 18 months down the road. So we really spent, you know, 4 or 5 months positioning ourselves to be where we wanted to be down the road rather than the immediate need. So probably a little bit different than some others, but you know, now it's November and I'm very glad that we did that. We've been very, very busy. I did mention that we're putting on a second shift to handle that need. And we're very lucky with diversification, like you said. We have no one customer that represents more than 5% of our revenues, and we've worked very hard to do that over the years. It's easy to get caught up in a few big customers, and my dad always said you don't want to do that. So we listened, luckily, and then like you we do automotive, both supplying the OEM side and the aftermarket side. We do a lot, like I mentioned, with restaurants. So as that business basically came to a screeching halt in March, in April and May, there was a huge need on the other side of the markets, like our food processing customers, the public transportation systems that needed to sanitize and disinfect like they'd literally never done before. So because of that diversification, we've just been busy, busy, busy. But interestingly, a lot of the folks that I've spoken with had pretty bad Octobers throughout the cleaning industry, at least. So I think that there was this ramp up of products that everybody needed. Everybody reads about it on the retail side with the hoarding of the toilet paper, but on the cleaning side, it's been the same. Everybody couldn't get these products, whether it was the face masks, the PPE, and then the gloves, and then the disinfecting wipes. So we like the schools, we couldn't supply schools fast enough. And now that they're starting to shut down again, you see that demand has decreased. However, I do think that, unfortunately, now the hospitals and the clinics have an overwhelming need for products. So we're just always looking for what's coming next and trying to stay ahead of it. I think with COVID, it's so in flux that you're never going to know. But if you're a week or a month ahead of it, just thinking, what am I going to need to do to keep my employees safe? What products am I going to need internally? What are my customers going to need? What's going to be open? You're never going to hit the nail on the head perfect every time, but it just allows us to be ahead and flexible and quickly respond to customer needs. So I think it's going to be a bumpy ride for the next few months. And so again, instead of looking at year end, we're looking at Q1 and Q2 and where we need to be today to meet those needs.
Right. Marcy, did you have?
Yeah, I would say that we're in the same boat with Lucia. Again, I'm a family business as well, third generation, and both my father and grandfather were very, very specific about not putting all your eggs in one basket. We've had a diverse product line for a long time. We haven't given all of our business to one customer. In the case that something like this ever happened, you have one business that just shuts down, you have to be able to keep everybody up and moving. So we've been fortunate that we have not taken a tremendous hit. I mean, certainly it's a very different year than a year ago, but it still is a year where we're able to keep our staff fully employed. We haven't done any layoffs. We haven't cut hours tremendously. We're still, hoping to fund pensions, and we're still trying to work in a way that, we're looking forward to keeping everybody on staff going in the future. And same with Lucia, we're looking short term. What used to be a year's out is first quarter, second quarter of next year. And we are manufacturing, so we're also looking what's happening with the political spectrum and how things are going to be invested going forward in multiple different industries. It's certainly a challenging time, but we're patient and we're cautious about spending, and we're cautious about where things are going to go. That I think that we're going to survive this and come out 6 months from now feeling very confident in the choices that have been made for the state and for innovation in the state.
Right. Nick, did you have anything you wanted to add on this?
I think we're similar to Lucia, where we've had we've been lucky to have the mix of customers that we've grown over the years. So we've had a lot of customers in food retail, defense, medical, distribution. A lot of them have done well. We definitely have some customers that didn't do so well through the pandemic. So food service, for example, for a while when all the restaurants were closed, wasn't doing too hot. That's starting to come back, but we've been lucky to be very busy throughout this time. So I think that the challenge for us hasn't been how do we pivot our business, but how do we keep up with demand and do it in a safe way so that we're not harming our employees and we're not harming our business. So that's been a tricky balancing act, but I think that especially as we learn more about the virus, learned a lot more about how we can do this in a safe way. We've staffed up a little bit to give ourselves some room to let people be out if they need to get tested, or if people want to be safe, or spread out our shifts. So I think that that's been really helpful for us.
And
Right.
and I'll add that it's just been so time consuming for us here at our small business. I imagine you the panelists and the attendees probably have similar scenarios where, you know, everything you put in place in March changes in April, and then everything you put in place last week changes when there's new guidance out this week. So it's really been a full-time job staying on top of which testing do you use for return to work, and, you know, what do you do when the school system shuts down the night before with no notice. So it's great to be flexible. We try to be as flexible as we can be, but when you're doing shift work, it presents a whole different set of challenges. So one of my concerns for Connecticut is with the, without getting too political, is that, you know, with the legislature at the state level having a supermajority on one side, you know, the policies that they implement, I really hope that they take into account manufacturers like us that are small that still have to operate. So we are doing everything we can to be protective of the health and safety of our employees. And I think anybody who walked around our floor would see that we're doing everything that we can, and we are a very safe environment. But you got to be out there working, and you can't stop your entire life. You can take all the precautions, but you have to go and make your products. It's not a service industry. We got to get product out the door to the customers who need them. So I am a little bit hesitant, but hopeful that the folks in the legislature understand everything that the business community and manufacturing specifically has been doing to try to stay operational through this.
That's a good point, Lucia, and we can talk a little bit more about this. Actually, you know, I was thinking as you guys were talking about how, as smaller manufacturers, small to medium-sized manufacturers, we could be agile with customer demand and innovation and different things, but we can't be agile necessarily with our workforce because, you know, I know we have one person departments or one or two people doing a critical function. So so that's why our agility is a good thing when it comes to our, you know, what we can do in the sense of customer demand, but how can we be more agile with the workforce, other than sometimes it feels like the only option really is to just hire temps, you know, but that doesn't necessarily work as well. Does anyone have any thoughts about that?
I think cross-training has become really, really important for our business. It was important before, and now it's just it's the thing that's keeping us going. Yeah, just being able to find the time to do that, which in itself is hard because you need to be able to staff up in an area to be able to take somebody off of their function to go train on something else.
Right.
I mean, for us, it takes 6, 9, 12 months to get the people trained on a particular line. And you can't be moving people from one side of the facility to the other side when you're trying to keep that social distancing and keep people in different zones. So you can't just put on a temp. You can't. Someone's got to stand next to them. They have to train them, and it takes a very long time. So the people are the critical piece. I mean, even though the equipment is technical and new and very automated, it's not run by robots. You know, it is the skilled labor. So I think it's everybody's number one challenge over the next 3 or 4 months is how are we going to stay operational when there are all of these personal issues that the employees have to deal with, and they're serious, and it weighs on people that have to come to work when they have these real personal situations at home. But that's where you pull together as a team. Everybody tries to fill in and help each other. Be cognizant that this is a very hard time for everybody. Be patient with each other. But the notion that you can just flip a switch and bring in a bunch of temps, it just doesn't work that way.
Right.
Yeah, we're also, had the same challenge, obviously, because it's an industry where it's impossible to work from home. They're even people that spend most of their time on computers in their office, it's not possible for people to work from home in this industry. They need to be touching and feeling and seeing. So, same thing. We've had to kind of just be patient, and we've arranged different shifts. I mean, some of us were coming in on weekends in order to make up for the fact that, you wanted to stay socially distanced, and there were different areas that you needed to touch and you didn't want to be within, the shop floor. So we've, it's put a new meaning to flexible work schedules, I guess. And we've, like you said, Lucia, we've been successful and patient, and we're enduring, so.
Great. So, as we're talking about a lot of these things, I'm thinking, there's so many challenges right now. There's all of these things we're dealing with. But, manufacturers are tough. You're not in this industry if you're not. So we like silver linings, and we like to stay positive. There have been positive things that have come out of COVID. Maybe business practices or developments, things that you may carry with you, post-COVID, whenever that may be. Does anyone want to share some of those positive elements to what we've gone through?
I mean, for us, I think, and we're talking a lot about the people who do have to come into to do the physical work every day, but we do have people in accounting, people in customer service, people in sales that don't need to be here every day, and we pretty quickly got as many of them out of the building and working from home as possible. And we've had a lot of digital capability for some time now, but I think that this really sped up the adoption of that. So people really did start using Zoom calls and Microsoft Teams and shared spreadsheets and things like that I think have been really helpful for a lot of our processes, making them more efficient and less error prone. And I definitely see us sticking with a lot of that when this is all done.
Right.
I'll add to that. We also are going to be doing a lot more on the technology side. We've focused for the last few years really on our ERP systems and MES systems and all of those technical parts of the business to run more efficiently. And now really we're again moving to the Teams environment and a lot of the collaborative tools. Our sales team works primarily remotely. We do have inside sales here, but we have a number of folks that live throughout the country, and I'm just so happy with our T&E budget of basically zero. So that's been a real bright spot for us. And I'd like to really continue to have a lot of folks do their jobs without having to get on an airplane and have that in-person interaction, which is important. It will always be important, but maybe you don't need to live your life on the road anymore to do that sales job. So another side for us that was a bright spot was we brought in a number of our employees' kids. Like, they were home, their summer jobs were canceled as camp counselors, or their schools were canceled. And so they came in and worked in various roles, whether it was marketing or packing out lines when we were shorthanded. And so now they're all coming back next week, and they're not going to be going back until January or February to school. and they'll come back, and it will give them, you know, something really nice on their resume, and a chance to work in a manufacturing environment. It's not dirty, it's not old school, it's vibrant, it's interesting, and so it gives those kids a chance to see, well, maybe I want to be a packaging designer for an industrial space, or, you know, things they maybe never even thought of. And I have to say, the biggest bright spot was just coming together as a team. You know, through our ISO certification process, we have like every document, you know, T's crossed, I's dotted, and, you know, every procedure is very formal, but we tend not to, you know, I tend to do my communications much more through email and less through the personal, because you're just busy. You're on the road, you're traveling, you have to do all these things. So just having the interaction with employees, whether it was because I was packing on the lines, or whether it was because somebody had a personal family issue that they had to deal with, and maybe they wouldn't normally talk to me about it, but they did, because we have more open communication now, has been really nice. And that comes from the top, and it's something that I've realized I can do better. I don't always have to just be focused on progress. You know, there is this human piece of it that's so important. And when you need to rally your team together to get the customers the essential products that they need to stay open, you know, it makes everybody understand that their work matters, and what they're doing is important, and it feels really good.
That's excellent, Lucia. Mars, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
I would agree with what both Nick and Lucia are saying. I think that, you know, a big takeaway from us was our ability to be more efficient with our communication with our support customers, whether it be, you know, people that we were do painting and plating, or any of our outside services, because we weren't on the road. We were able to just problem solve via Zoom or any sort of video conferencing. And, you know, our accountants, our attorneys, whatever it may be, there was much more efficiency in our time management. And we were also able to do that with our customers. Like Lucia said, there's, you know, no traveling, and you're kind of right there. Meetings are scheduled, and they're very efficient when they take place. So we were able to spend, you know, more time working, doing our business, and then getting back to our home life, because those are just as challenging right now. You know, I have children, I have young children that are school age. So myself and many of the people that were on our staff were, you know, all in the same boat. When schools closed, how do you do this? And how do you have two working parents get out? And, you know, when you have a school system that's closed, and all these little smart efficiencies were able to allow us to be able to do that. So you're not, you know, living your life on the road, as Lucia said, and also more connected to our employees. We had to have very personal conversations about how they're going to make their personal lives work, and how I'm going to, you know, try to support that while trying to make my personal life work. So we've grown as much of a family business as we were before. I would say we are even more interconnected, because now we've become a family pod, right? We eat, sleep, and breathe together, because we're trying to stay safe and continue to hold on to the sanity with our work lives and our home lives. So.
Well said. I know for our business, we worked on kind of our core values through EOS, and, you know, use the kind of the flux of demand to kind of take a hard look at our costs, and take a look at kind of our messaging and the different things in our organization. We upgraded our quality certification. All those things you can kind of tighten up wherever you can kind of get your ducks in a row as you wait for, you know, business to come back in certain areas or different things. So, you know, I think, you know, getting through this pandemic, what won't we be able to get through after something like this? Honestly, it's made us more agile and flexible, and it's really humanized. Like you said, Lucia, it's kind of humanized upper management in terms of employees, because, you know, we're struggling with the same things with being flexible we're all kind of in the same storm. So really great topics, really great discussion. I guess if I think we're kind of at the end of our questions here, and unless anyone had any closing thoughts, I think we're going to move into Q&A, and hopefully people have had questions all during and have been holding on to those questions so that we can answer them and have even more engaging discussions. So I'll turn it back over to you, Garrett.
Great, thanks, Jill, and great job from the panel. Appreciate you all taking the time to be a part of this. We'll put up on the screen the Zoom link so people can go back into our Zoom networking room, and I know you guys are going to follow on into there, and that's just an opportunity to have a more of a dialogue and conversation about the panel. So we, again, thank you all for being a part of this and being part of the Big Connect. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, we're going to get ready for our next segment that's coming up. Before we do that, our Diversity and Inclusion Council has been doing a great job recognizing businesses that are out there that are doing special things in our community. The role of the Diversity and Inclusion Council for the Greater New Haven Chamber is to assist our business partners in serving our wide-ranging customer base, increasing economic success for all. And we recognize the value, strength, and competitive edge our region possesses within our diverse community. During the Expo, and the D&I Council will honor 4 minority-owned businesses and organizations for their continued demonstrated commitment to the New Haven region. Their dedication, resilience, growth, and documented success help advance our mission of creating a better future for all people in our community. Each day, Ray Andrewson, our Director of Membership Services, will spotlight a minority-owned business, and today we will share his interview with Dr. Maisa Akbar, author, speaker, and educator. And stand by with us, it's coming. We'll have Ray in just a moment introducing Dr. Akbar. All right, I don't know if we're able to roll that video, so as soon as we can get that up, we will play that for you. Again, if you want to follow the manufacturing panel into the Zoom room, the link is right there. You can click on that, and that will take you to our Zoom room. As we continue, we also want to remind everyone to visit the Expo booths. Those exhibitor booths are available for you to go check out. And by going there, you can enter yourself in for an opportunity to win a package from Foxwoods Resort Casino. It's an overnight stay, dinner, fun at the race carts as well. But what you have to do is go in, visit a booth. You can like a booth, accept a deal, and also post a comment, and that will enter you in. I think I want to see if we have that video of Dr. Akbar coming up in just a moment. So if we can roll that. Again, this is from our Diversity and Inclusion Council, and we've been doing a great job of trying to focus on some of our businesses in the community and give them some promotion. So if the video of Dr. Akbar is up, we'll roll that now.
And we'd like once more here during our Big Connect Expo 2020 of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, our Diversity and Inclusion Council, call attention to one of our 4 winners, minority businesses here in the Greater New Haven area and the region that have done phenomenal work advocating, educating, sustaining, being resilient, especially not only this challenging time, but over many years. And today we are honoring Dr. Maisa Akbar. She is, of course, a well-known psychologist, has done tremendous work. She's authored 2 impactful books, which we'll be discussing as well, and a policy advocate, advocating on behalf of those children and families of color who have been challenged primarily over the years, and we will discuss that as well. And we welcome Dr. Akbar to the Chamber and our Expo. It's great to have you here today, and congratulations for being a winner from the Diversity and Inclusion Council here at the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you so much, Ray. I am so pleased and delighted to have been considered for this award. And, I'm just overall very joyful that we can share in this experience around expansion of equity, diversity, and inclusion work.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce has created a Diversity and Inclusion Council, and it's been very effective going forward. We have a mission, we have a map, and many other organizations need to do that. And you've been a groundbreaking educator as well as psychologist to help not only businesses, but communities understand what they need to do.
Yes. Part of my work, I started and opened Integrated Wellness Group in 2008, right in the beginning of 2008, right at the peak of the, the drop of a recession. And, most people thought that I was absolutely insane to start a business during a time that the country was going through significant financial upheaval. But what was very clear to me during that time was that regardless of the time period that we're in, people are always searching and in need of mental wellness. And throughout my career in not only as an entrepreneur and a minority and woman-owned business owner, but also as a psychologist, board certified in children and adolescent psychology, and an expert in racial trauma, what I've come to understand is that a lot of times with mental health, especially in my carve out of racial trauma, the clients that come in to seek treatment aren't very well informed about the process of mental health, of access to mental health. And so one of the things that I wanted to be able to do through my books and through my trainings is not just provide the actual treatment, but to provide education so that they can be educated consumers in mental health. They deserve that. And that's what that's been my journey. That's what I've been working on. And I'm excited to continue doing that work.
Well, you have been out educating others. You've been conducting seminars. Obviously, you've been writing books as well, and many people have been able to learn a little bit more about your work over a period of time. I'm sure that in being an educator, sometimes you realize that your students are maybe a little bit behind you, and they need a little bit more of a push to understand. So as an educator, how do you get their attention, especially in the books that you have written, and certainly in your practice on a day in, day out basis, to make sure that they understand the need for diversity and inclusion moving forward?
I think it is a critical moment in our lifetime right now. And the fortunate thing is that I've been teaching and training around this topic, for over 20 years. It's taken different variations over time. Before, we used to call it cross-cultural psychology and multiculturalism. We would then it engaged in this process of culturally responsive, awareness. And now that we're speaking in language of equity, diversity, and inclusion, and we're speaking in language of racial justice, we've elevated the conversation to not just have discourse around what it means as a topic, but what are we prepared to do in terms of our own personal call to action? And so what you see in my books, and also if you sit in my trainings and my educational forums, is that while I'm educating, I am challenging the audience and my students and those that attend the trainings to define what their personal call to action within this area is going to be. And urban trauma was very focused on communities of color. And Beyond Ally is very focused on white allies that are prepared to engage in their journey towards allyship. And some of them may be very well developed in that allyship, and some of them may be in the beginning stages of allyship. So it's an essential process of this work. So I'm very happy to be one of those folks that are out there doing the educational piece in addition to the challenge for the call to action.
And of course, as a psychologist, certainly one of the challenges you face is denial. it's very hard for people to come to grips, to understand racism in its manifest forms, dating back in this country from 1619 to the present. And then, of course, for an ally to not just to be an ally, but beyond ally, to really immerse and be educated. So in our final moment here, perhaps you can just give us the condensed version of your book, if you will, not fair to you, of course, to just make all of us understand how we can be invested in each other and be allies.
Absolutely. I think that allyship takes many different forms. One of the things that I say that is a cornerstone and crucial to the allyship process is that allyship has to be an identity that we define is going to be part of our everyday experience. Many of us come into the world with multiple intersectional identities. And for those that have privilege and power, allyship needs to be a conscious decision for engaging in that type of work and that type of relational experience with communities and people of color. And so, you know, what this book specifically proposes is that you can engage in a model of allyship. It's a developmental model that is anchored in growth and development over time. There is the opportunity to make mistakes and actually to lean into those mistakes so that, you know, we're not afraid that when a mistake is made, now we're not good allies. It's not as dichotomous as that, but that instead the expectation is that mistakes will help to grow who you are as an ally. And then most importantly, I think that what the urban trauma book does is that it allows us to understand both as allies and as communities of color that are impacted by racial trauma, how to define this adequately. Many of us, when we are unable to create definitions to the way that we feel, the way that we're impacted socially, emotionally, and psychologically, we're lost and we're in internal conflict. Definition allows us to create a path towards healing. And that's my purpose in creating both of these books on either side of the coin. Either you are a person who has experienced racial trauma and need definition and healing, or you're a person that can support the healing of communities who are experiencing racial trauma.
Well, once again, on behalf of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce, Diversity and Inclusion Council, we congratulate you. We thank you for all your work on behalf of not just the Greater New Haven community, but through your book and experiences, discussions around the country for what you've done for so many people, Dr. Maisa Akbar. Again, it's your website, maisaakbar.com. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Ray.
And thank you to Dr. Akbar and Ray as well. Great to hear that story and the great businesses that we have here in the New Haven region. We're going to have Commissioner Katie Dykes in just a few moments. We want to share with you some of our sponsors' information. And while we get ready to do that, again, we have the Zoom room open and continue to network here at the Big Connect.
Business, or a big one. You were thriving. But then, time to think, plan, pivot. How do you bounce back? You don't. You bounce forward with serious and reliable internet, powered by the largest gig speed network in America. But is it secure? Sure, it's secure. And even if the power goes down, your connection doesn't.
So how do I do this?
You don't do this. We do this together. Bounce forward with Comcast Business.
The door to a car you've been saving for. The door to a personal loan that feels genuinely personal. The door to a bedroom for each of your teenagers. The door to a new employee who's also your neighbor. And the door to a happy and full life for you and everyone you know. This year, KeyBank has already opened over 170,000 doors, helping people get from where they were to where they wanted to be. KeyBank opens doors.
We believe in the power of people to do what it takes to stand strong. to meet challenges head on. At Connecticut, we help our members do just that. We're here when they need an ally, clearing paths so they can see their doctors or get their medicine safely at home. And since Connecticut is our home too, we see the power in its people every day. Connecticut, powered by people for a healthier you.
Could the underground water, sewer, and septic lines leading to your home be a ticking time bomb? If pipe damage occurs, you'll not only be in a mess, but you could end up paying thousands of dollars in repair bills. Don't wait until it's too late. Pipe Safe to the Rescue is here for you 24/7. The Regional Water Authority's trusted Pipe Safe protection program provides peace of mind for homeowners. For pennies a day, enroll in the RWA's Pipe Safe plans at pipe-safe.com or call 203-562-4020.
Changing, and our workforce is changing with it.
We are all experts in our own diverse identity.
The best way to learn about diversity is to learn from each other.
Diversology allows us to take to an online platform to engage in these meaningful conversations on topics of diversity and inclusion in the workplace. This is a starter course on diversity and inclusion, which allows organizations to have a baseline understanding within their workforce from which to move forward in creating a diverse and inclusive workplace.
The crux of what we do here is have a conversation. This is a space where your voice matters.
I'm Pat Hall James. Are you ready to take your diversity training to the next level? Our interactive Diversology workshop is just what you need. Check it out. The HR Source.
Hey, I'd like you to meet Company A. Company A is an employer looking for good people that have some skills or ready to be trained on the job. Now, meet Jason. He's job ready and he's got some skills. That's where we come in. When employers look for good people, they find Workforce Alliance. Our candidates are motivated, skilled, or ready to be trained on the job. If you're a small business, mid-sized company, or a Fortune 500 in Greater New Haven or Middlesex counties, we are your employment solution, and there is never a fee. Visit workforcealliance.biz and click on Business Services to be connected to a specialist. When employers look for good people, they find Workforce Alliance.
And those are just a few of our exhibitors, so you can check them out in the virtual exhibit hall. Please go visit their booths. As we mentioned, there's an opportunity to win a overnight stay, dinner, and free passes for race karting at Foxwoods Resort Casino. All right, we're ready to continue on with the 2020 Big Connect presented by Comcast Business, and today's sponsor is AMS Practice Management. I now want to introduce Paul Tita. Paul is with American Green Fuels and is our presenting sponsor for our next speaker, Commissioner Katie Dykes. Paul.
Good morning. I'm the Vice President of Public and Government Affairs for Colmar and American. Whoops, I gotta start my video, I guess. There we go. Okay. So American Green Fuels. But before I talk about American Green Fuels, I'd like to thank the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce for having me introduce Katie Dykes, the Commissioner of the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Resources Protection. Before I do that, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about American Green Fuels. It's located in New Haven. It's a biodiesel manufacturing plant, and we employ about 50 people. But when we're undergoing major expansions or maintenance project, that number swells to about 200 people throughout the state of Connecticut. We like to say we fuel the Connecticut economy. It's also a special production plant because it's the only one in the country that has environmental certifications in a number of areas. You'll hear more about that in the upcoming video. It also is the largest biodiesel production plant in the Northeast and along the Eastern Seaboard. As we're good for the economy and as we're good for the environment, we encourage municipalities and consumers of diesel fuel to either specify or purchase product environmentally certified biodiesel by American Green Fuels in any diesel equipment, on-road equipment, in heating oil equipment. It's a very good replacement for petroleum oil in heating oil. So thank you for listening to this. Now here's that video I mentioned.
Protect the environment and help your local economy by using certified and environmentally validated biodiesel from American Green Fuels. Biodiesel is a renewable energy source made from recycled waste products, such as used cooking oil, which is converted into biodiesel at American Green Fuels and then blended into your heating oil. Biodiesel burns cleaner even in your current oil burner, so ask your oil retailer for biodiesel produced by American Green Fuels. You are what you heat.
Thanks, Paul.
So thanks for watching that. I think this year more than ever is a good time to start being more green, being more local, and with that we encourage anybody who purchases heating oil or diesel to work with a heating oil dealer to add biodiesel from American Green Fuels. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Garrett.
Great, thanks a lot, Paul. We appreciate your support.